Test. Ooh. Good morning, everybody. My name is Andy Dance, Chairman of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. Proud to be here today, and on behalf of my fellow commissioners and the other elected officials behind me, we welcome you today. It's no secret that our beaches are more than just beautiful scenery. They are the backbone of our community's natural infrastructure, economy, and identity. Over the last decade, storms and hurricanes have reminded us how fragile our coastline is, but also how resilient Flagler County can be when we work hand in hand with our partners. Today, we're honored to welcome a congressman who is committed to joining us in this important effort. He has long understood the significance of Florida's beaches and is ready to help strengthen federal support for Flagler County. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Randy Fine.
You know, his name is really good. It's mine. Take away the R. So thank you. Thanks, Andy, for that introduction. I want to start by thanking all the elected officials that are here. You know, making this part of Florida the best place in the country to live, to grow, to raise a family. It's a team effort. What we do in Washington gets a lot of the attention, but when most people have a problem that they need help with, it's their garbage picked up, their road needs to be paved, their beach has a problem, it's local elected officials that they call. And so I'm really glad that these guys are here with me today as we celebrate an achievement that happened really, really fast, proving why I am not a good politician. But we've got from the County Commission here in Flagler, Andy Dance, Leanne Pennington, Kim Carney, Pam Richardson, and Gregory Hansen. And I do want to note that I want to thank Commissioner Hansen for 8+ years working to protect the beach. We're building on his shoulders today. We've got County Administrator Heidi Petito, Palm Coast Vice Mayor Teresa Carly Pontieri. She's doing a great job. I hear she may be making a big announcement about her future to serve Flagler in a new way. Looking forward to hearing about that. Not today, but soon. Flagler Beach Commissioner Rick Belhumer, Flagler Beach Manager Dale Martin, Bunnell Mayor Robinson, who's also my landlord, so I have to be very nice to her. Our office is just down the street. Flagler Beach City Manager, GOP Chairman Perry, you're over there somewhere, not up here with us, but good to see you, Perry. Flagler Beach, John Cunningham, and Mike Martin, who's with Mosquito Control and is going to be giving me a tour of how those efforts are happening tomorrow. But we're here because over the 5-week August recess, I've had the ability to make over 70 stops throughout the district. It's sort of, we feel like we're making a lot of figure eights. I was like, yeah, I was just there. My district is bigger than the state of Connecticut. So we've been all over the 6 counties over the last 5 weeks. This is probably our 75th stop that we've made. And sometimes I learn about problems when I'm making these visits. When I was in Flagler County, it was probably just 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago, I came to do a tour of the beaches. And the beaches are something I know a lot about. I live on the beach. So I understand the challenge of what it means for beach restoration of the dune. And I have the distinction of my family having lost 2 houses in hurricanes. My parents in 2004, me in 2016. And so I understand the importance of beaches. And we took a tour of the beaches. I was not dressed appropriately. I was wearing a suit. That was not the easiest thing. But we were talking as we went to the beach. I said, what do you need from me? Because I always try to get to the punchline. What do you need me to do? How can I help? And what I was told by Andy and the other folks from Flagler County is we have $9 million that's waiting, that's approved, that's in the budget, that we've already gotten for the beaches, but we can't get a signature out of Washington. What, you don't want more money? No, it's already approved. You just are waiting on a signature. Yes. You've been waiting a long time? Yes. I'm like, well, that's something I ought to be able to go and fix. So as I drove away from the tour, I started making phone calls. And lo and behold, a few days later, all it took was those calls. It helps that I have friends in Washington now, but we got that signature on that letter, and that $9 million is delivered. And so we're here today to commemorate that because we need to make sure that our beaches are protected. But there's more to be done. The other things that I've learned, and I've learned this not only in Flagler County, but around my district, that people are waiting years to be reimbursed for FEMA. So we hear FEMA, FEMA, FEMA. The Democrats love to talk about FEMA. It doesn't matter how big FEMA is. If you've got to wait 5 years to get paid back for the expenses that you have when there's a hurricane, if you have to take out a loan from the bank and pay interest on it to cover your expenses, I'm not sure how much good it is. And so we're also working, and we've already gotten the federal government to take a relook at the Milton expenses that were incurred here a few years ago. The point is the federal government needs to serve the people of Florida. And it's one thing to talk about how big it is and how many employees, and those metrics are fine and good. But at the end of the day, it's not about how big the government is. It's not about how many employees it has. It's about, is it serving the needs of the people? I was an entrepreneur for 22 years. I learned that size does not necessarily indicate results. As a one-man band at all three of my companies, I upended big industries. I was really small, but I worked hard, and I cared about putting points on the board and delivering results. That's what we've done here with what we're celebrating here today in Flagler County, about getting this money approved to protect our beaches so, God forbid, another hurricane comes, we're prepared, but to send that message that it is my job and my team's job, and hopefully we've proven it over the last 5 weeks, to represent the people that are here, to advocate for the needs that they have, and to make sure that we're protecting our beaches and everything in our county. So I'm excited to come back. It took 2 weeks. I can't set that expectation. Every problem I'm not going to be able to solve in 2 weeks. But this was one that we were able to, and we're proud to do it. And we have to celebrate the wins, because hopefully it sends the message of my level of commitment. When I hear a problem, I'm going to try to solve it. That is why I'm elected, to serve the people that I have the honor to serve. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the media happens to have. And I really appreciate all these guys coming up and standing with me today.
I don't know if this would be specifically for you or maybe someone from the county.
They can talk too. That's all right.
Where along Flagler's coast will this money be directed towards?
That's a better question for them. I toured it, but I don't want to get it wrong. Although they made me show up in a suit outside, so I almost didn't. I almost left and went home. But who wants to answer that question? Greg, come on.
Malacopter going north. Okay.
How soon can we start seeing work being done?
I'm not sure on that. I'm not going to guess, but it's soon, very soon.
It's a marine land, right?
Yeah, marine land. Come on, Ansley.
Introduce her, please.
This is Miss Ainsley Wren. She is our county engineer for the beach.
And we had a great conversation because you were shocked. I knew a lot about the beach.
I know. From the second I met you, I was like, oh, he gets it. Yep. So, yeah, no, we had a great tour. I appreciate the congressman being here. Now that we do have the funding for the project, we already have a contractor on site that's doing a dune restoration project for us. So he'll just continue north so we can implement this project November 1st is what we're looking at.
Stay up here in case they have any other questions.
Can you kind of talk about what specifically, like how that area was hit by this? This is Milton funding, correct?
Correct.
How did Milton impact that area?
So that part of the coast is lower lying. And so just the small storm surge from Milton, which was 2 to 3 feet, was right at the top of the dune, and it did erode most of the dune in that area. So it is critical to repair that dune.
And that work is looking to start November 1st, you were saying, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And can you kind of give us some context as, to our viewers who are unfamiliar with the money itself and kind of the background information with that and how we ultimately got to this point?
You want to talk about applying for it, and I'll talk about my phone call?
Sure. Sounds good. Yep. So as soon as Milton was over, we did a post-storm survey. We were able to quantify the amount of sand that we lost during Milton. At that point, we worked with our consultant, Foth Engineering, that put together a damage report for us. We submitted it in, I believe, early, maybe January of the following year. So the Milton was in October. We submitted it in January. So at that point, it was under review with FEMA. I have a very good relationship with the beach team at FEMA. They were in constant communication with me, but at some point, I was not getting any more feedback. So that's when we called the congressman.
Yeah, I mean, look, things go into the great vortex of Washington, D.C. And I think one of the things we should think about is trying to get the people who work on these problems closer to the problems. I've only been in Washington for 146 days. I have not seen the beach yet. Maybe there is one somewhere, but there's no ocean. And so I think a lot of the times the bureaucrats are far away from the problems, and they don't have to deal with them themselves. And so, as I said, as I drove away, I got on the phone. I started making some calls. I have the ability, fortunately I have some powerful friends in Washington, that's why I'm in Congress, and they said, sure, if all you need is a signature and it's a good idea, we'll get it done, and we did. And part of the reason I was willing to make that call is Flagler County is approaching beaches the right way. You know, there's multiple ways to protect our shoreline, but I can tell you, as someone who's lived on the beach for many, many years, the best way to protect the beach is with a dune with natural grasses growing. God had it right. He knew how to protect it. And it's crazy. You'll see beaches that the sand all gets pulled away by the storm up to the dune where the grasses are growing. It is the roots that hold the dune in place, that hold the sand in place and protect things. And so given that that is the approach that wanted to be taken here as opposed to other sorts of man-made systems that ultimately don't work, I was very, very excited to help, because that is the solution to our beach problems. We have to return to natural dunes with natural growth on those dunes to hold the sand into place. The sand will always come and go, but it is the dune, if properly built and properly protected. And part of the challenge is you can build the dune and you can plant the plants, but it takes a while for those roots to grow deep enough, and we have to cross our fingers and hope we have a couple of years with no storms in order to get those roots deep into place. But you do that, and again, the plants will hold the sand in place, and they will protect the dune. Oh, great. So it's separate problem. That is not my interest. So let me reject the premise of your question. His question is, what prompted me to want to federalize Ocala National Forest? That is not my interest. My interest is this. When my kids were born, I made a decision that I wanted to take them to every national park. They are America's best idea. There are 63 of these in the United States, including 3 here in Florida: Everglades, Dry Tortugas, and Biscayne. But we've been to them all. I've taken them to all of them. We've been to the Grand Canyon. We've been to Glacier, all of these amazing places, Zion and Bryce Canyon. But when I ran for Congress, I started touring our Florida Springs. And as I toured Florida Springs, I said, these are as nice and extraordinary as any of these sites that I've seen elsewhere in the country. In fact, everyone knows about Yellowstone. Yellowstone was protected because it is the largest concentration of geysers, not in the West, not in the United States, but in the world. Well, Florida has the largest concentrations of natural springs, not in Florida, not in the United States, but in the world. And I said our Florida springs are deserving of the same level of protection as we see at Yellowstone. And so we have some state parks, and I said I believe that they rise to the level of national designation. Now, I don't have the answer on how to do that. There's a lot of federal land, there's a lot of state land in the area, including a national forest. But my bill that I announced yesterday would have the National Park Service, the Department of the Interior, figure out how to take some number of our Florida springs and other already owned government land and turn that into something nationally designated. It might be a national park, it might be a national monument, it might be a national recreation area, it could be some combination of the three, to do 2 things. Number one, to make sure that we're protecting these extraordinary places in the world. But second, and this is a big deal for the communities that I represent, to create a massive increase in the level of tourism that these sites visit. People travel the country to visit our national parks. Why? Because being a national park means you're the best America has to offer. And I believe that people on their way to Disney World or Universal, as they're driving down I-95 from the East Coast or I-75 from the Midwest, could see a sign that says Florida Springs National Park and get off and see some of these extraordinary natural wonders that are part of what makes Florida, Florida. Sure, that's a great question. I was planning, so let me talk to you what my life has been like. Ask about where I live. Great question. When President Trump asked me to run, it wasn't a plan of me or my family. I have a senior in high school and I have an 8th grader. I launched a 9-week, 63-day campaign for the Florida House. It was pretty big. I'm sorry, for my primary. It's pretty busy. I actually tried to serve. I did serve in the Senate at that same time. In fact, I found out that I won my primary, not in the district, but I was in Tallahassee presenting what is now the strongest anti-illegal immigration bill in the country. And then a 9-week, 63-day election, general election. Then I won. I said, oh, good. I've made it through 126 days of politics. I'm going to have time between when I win and when I get sworn in. My colleagues generally get 60 days. I got 22 hours. Wasn't enough time to move. So I went to Washington, D.C., and over the past 146 days, I focused on opening 6 offices, building a staff, and voting on 139 things. I've made every vote of those 139. Our plan, it's not so easy. I'm not a single guy. I have a family, and I've got kids in school. Our plan had been during the August recess, the period that we are in right now, to figure out where in this district that is larger than the state of Connecticut to move. It's very big. People say move to the district. They don't mean that. They mean move to their town. But this is 6 counties. So where would be the right place for my family to go? And right when that was beginning, Governor DeSantis started to talk about redistricting. And so we don't actually know what the district lines will be. To give you a sense of things, Flagler County was in this district before. 2 of the 6 counties I represent now were not in the district prior to redistricting. 50% of Volusia County was in the district and now is not. And without knowing what those ultimate lines will be, I'm not going to move my family twice. So when we have certainty around what those district lines are going to look like, when we have the time, we will revisit that decision. But unfortunately, we had a plan, and then that plan got messed up by others. We'll take 2 more questions. Yeah.
And if you guys want to sit down and have something to do with Flagler, you guys are all just standing up there for chat.
Maybe they just want to be my protection. You never know.
The sidewalks in Daytona and in Seminole, the sidewalk going across to meeting Speedway is now going to be painted over.
Yeah.
Seminole County had got it FDOT approved and everything like that, painted these, the roads or sidewalks green for bikers, but now they're going to have to change it. Why?
The federal government, President Trump has said crosswalks are for safety. They're not for other purposes, and we've got to clean them up. And we can't say you've got to take away an LGBTQ monument in Orlando, but you can't. But you can leave this one over here. We have to apply the rules fairly. Those are the rules. Crosswalks are for public safety. They are not for demonstrations or tourism or anything like that. It's not about politics. It's about public safety. Last question. Yes, there is one over here. All right, well, if we don't have any more, good. Then I'll wrap up. I just want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank all these guys for being here. It's an honor to have them be here. It's been a great 5 weeks, and I'm excited about seeing what the next 146 days holds. All right, I said I'd have one more question, so yes.
Just the one last thing I had is, what do you think the future of the beach looks like?
Well, I hope it's still there. I mean, look, the future, this is what makes Florida, Florida. I tell people all the time, we have to be careful. There are a lot of places in this country to retire that have low taxes and decent winters. What they don't have is water. And the great news about Florida is that everybody wants to move here. And the worst thing about Florida is that everybody wants to move here. So whether it's our beaches, the Intercoastal Waterway, the St. Johns River, our springs, our rivers, our lakes, if we don't preserve those, we lose what makes Florida, Florida. And so I don't want to tell people they can't move here. We can't move here. Most people in this room weren't born here. They moved here. We can't come here and then say, nope, nobody else. We can't slam the door behind us. But what we have to do is make sure we're developing appropriately. And that ensures making sure that we're protecting our beaches, because they're important not only for people coming here, but they're important to protect all the real estate that is there. It's important to protect public safety. It's important to protect life and everything else that goes into this. So making sure we protect our beaches, our waterways, this is the single largest local issue that I'm focused on. And I will tell you, it doesn't matter whether I'm in Flagler County or Lake County or Marion County or Volusia County. Now, beaches are only come up in the 3 coastal counties, but in the other ones, wastewater, roads, stormwater, surface water, those come up everywhere I go, and we'll be continuing to work on those for as long as I'm in Congress. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks for being here.